sports.
Welcome to the Shot Clock, where we're talking sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. I'm your host, Mina, SayWhat, and we're 100% digital, 100% live, and 100% real. Let's count them down. Welcome to the Shot Clock. I'm your host, Mina, SayWhat. This is where we talk sports, and we try to have a good time. Now, for Women's History Month, we have been honoring one woman game changer in sports. Today, we will be talking to Mo'ne Davis. Yes, the incredible, just a phenom at the age of 13 years old. So she's coming up later on in the show. Let's bring in my co-host, senior and entertainment sports editor for These Urban Times, Terrell Thomas. Hey, T.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon. Happy Monday. Good to see you.
Good afternoon. Happy Monday. You know the premise of the show. We put ourselves on a shot clock. I must try to stay on time. But, you know, when I get to talking, it gets a little hard. So we'll get to Mo'ne a little bit later. Let's jump right into the playbook. So a lot of trades this week. The trade deadline was on Thursday. Now, locally here, you know, we're in the Philly, New Jersey area. Terrell is coming to us from Atlanta, but he's a Philly guy at heart, right, T?
Yes, indeed.
We, in a three-way deal between the Knicks and OKC, the Sixers end up acquiring George Hill. So welcome him to Philadelphia, and Ignas Brazdeikis. And we didn't have to give up much to get these two guys. You know, we sent second-round picks in 2025 and 2026 to OKC, and the Knicks got our second-round pick for next year. Now, a lot of people wanted to see some big names come to Philly to kind of fill out the roster. What are your thoughts on this recent trade, Terrell?
I think it still worked for Philly. As you mentioned, Sixer fans were looking for a big name, more specifically Philly native Kyle Lowry or someone like that to join the roster. That wasn't able to happen. I do think the acquisition, though, of George Hill will still be key. Another big wing defender who can help once the playoffs come defensively and offensively as far as running the show. Good pickup.
You know, I get what they were trying to do. They wanted to keep the current team intact. And I heard, you know, the asking price for Kyle was way too high. They wanted us to give up Matisse and Tyrese Maxey. And I really feel like those guys are going to be like a foundational kind of team for us as we're building, you know, behind Ben and behind Joel. So we didn't really give up much. I guess they wanted to add like a solid player with solid experience. You know, George Hill has bounced around from team to team a little bit. So I get what they were going. We were trying to get a quality veteran player and not give up a lot for it, right? So, you know, George is going to give us about 11 points a game. You know, he's going to give us about 3 assists. That's his average. So, and last year he led in 3-pointers in the NBA. But what I don't understand about this is that he's injured. He has a thumb injury. Now, when I was having a conversation with someone over this past weekend, they were like, well, it's a thumb injury. Well, he can't play, and there's no timeline for him to play. You know, Daryl Morey said that he'll be ready in time for the playoffs. We need him before the playoffs. You know, ideally, we would want George Hill to play now so that he can start building the chemistry with the team so that kind of gives Joel some more time to recuperate. I feel like we're missing firepower when we go up against some of these top 3, top 4 teams. I feel like we needed it against the Bucks. We needed an extra push against the Clippers. George would have been a nice little push. However, he can't play, and there's no timeline. They're saying very soon. I don't know about that. He hasn't played since January. So I don't understand that piece of it. You know, I also don't understand getting rid of a center. And then we have Dwight Howard cursing out refs and getting ejected from the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, we at this present moment, we need Dwight to be solid because now we don't have a player like Bradley to back us up in that 5 spot. So that's what I didn't understand. Now, after this week's trades, I'm on one. T, let's take a look at what some of our competition looks like right now. Look at this. Like, seriously. And this is not even throwing in DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin, who are now a part of that Nets squad. I think we need more.
Yeah, but Brooklyn's not playing. Brooklyn came out. They are trying to buy a championship this season.
And I want us to buy a championship too. I don't mind buying it. So those are all the things that are going on in my head. I think if George could play tomorrow, I'd feel a little bit better about it. But like, he can't play right now. So it's kind of like we're not even reaping the benefits of our trade right away. We'll see though.
It'll come in time. It'll come in the playoffs.
I think trust is a big thing. And, Daryl has proven that he is right on the money and he's making all the right moves. Right. Obviously, Doc Rivers. So I'm going to wait out and see, but I'm a little annoyed by what's going on here, to be honest. Moving on, the NFL has increased regular season games to 17 games. Now, last year's collective bargaining agreement gave the owners the ability to do this. They actually haven't changed the regular season game since 1978. What are you thinking about this, Terrell?
I think it's a good look for the league. I know a lot of players are upset right now about the 17th game. However, they will be taking away a preseason game. So normally we get 4 preseason games. Starters are normally sit out that 4th game. They'll play most of the 3rd game. Now we'll only get 3, so we'll probably only see starters play that 2nd game or something to that extent. I think it'll be a good look for fans, of course, and it's all about that money. The NFL is trying to find ways to increase their revenue, and this is the way to get it done.
I think it's too soon. I mean, I know that the agreement allowed for them to do this, but I don't think this is a good time for this. I mean, in general, teams are struggling, to even keep players healthy. And now with the COVID guidelines, that adds another layer of, players not being able to play. I mean, we saw this past season. Sometimes you wouldn't even have all your players. Like, you're trying to find players to put on the field. So I just don't think this is the best time to do this. They could have waited like a year or two when we kind of have, COVID a little bit more under control. But like you said, it's all about that money, right?
All about that money.
Now we are still in March, so March Madness is still in full effect. Let's look at this NCAA bracket. We are headed into the Elite 8. I was very disappointed this weekend. I went to Syracuse, so obviously Syracuse is someone that I always go for. Obviously, I'm a fan of Nova. They both did not win this weekend. Syracuse gave a good fight to Houston, but I just think Houston was too much for them, too much firepower, too much physicality. They tried to hang in there, but they just, they shut down Buddy Buckets. They weren't making any shots, But the Nova game really disappointed me because I felt like Nova really had the opportunity to win this game against Baylor. And I felt like they had the squad, they had the talent, and they just kind of gave it up in the last 8 minutes of the game with these turnovers. So now I don't have a horse in the race, like a personal horse. We are continuing NCAA March Madness tonight. This is the Elite 8 right there. Oregon State, Houston, Arkansas, Baylor, USC, Gonzaga, UCLA, Michigan. Who do you think is going to, end up at that April 5th game, T?
I think we'll end up seeing Michigan. I think we'll get Michigan. And I want to go with Baylor. Houston is sticking out in my name, but I think we'll end up getting a Michigan-Baylor game. I was with you. I was really pulling for Nova. I wanted to see Nova get it done, although their roster was depleted. Their best player was injured. So now I'm kind of going with Juwan Howard. I want to see Juwan Howard get done, see Michigan be able to get it done. Buddy Boeheim was definitely a good story. I was enjoying watching your Orange for some time. But I'm going to go with Michigan and Baylor from here on out, and Michigan cutting down the net.
I kind of have my eyes on Gonzaga. I mean, I feel like when I watch them, they are relentless. Like, they'll be up by 10 points and they're still kicking butt, and they want to beat you by 20 points. I just see an intensity in them and a dominance during this game that I really like. So I got my money on Gonzaga, but we'll see. April 5th is that final game. That is the playbook. Let's get to a word from one of our sponsors.
We've seen how far this game can go, so we take it and run.
Making moves like nobody.
For everybody.
We don't move within the lines.
We move beyond them. Hennessy, the spirit of the NBA.
Welcome back to the Shot Clock. I'm your host, Mina. Say what? We are right on time. So we are rounding out Women's History Month. We've had amazing, amazing women join us for this month. Thank you to Laura Price. Thank you to Natasha Cloud. Thank you to Doris Burke. Thank you to Dawn Staley. And wrapping things up is just someone who just naturally has everything that you would want in an athlete. Mo'ne Davis. Mo'ne Davis is a former Little League baseball pitcher and the first girl to earn a win and pitch a shutout in a Little League World Series at just 13 years old. Mo'ne threw 70 miles per hour. Okay. It was a fastball, which started the whole throw like a girl movement. She's a girl from South Philly. Mo'ne was the first African-American girl in the Little League World Series and the first Little League baseball player to appear on the cover of Sports Illustrated. She is an author. Currently, she's a part of the Hampton University softball team. Here she is talking about her impact.
The world will never forget the name Mo'ne Davis.
A lot of girls have told me, like, because of me, they play baseball or they play on an all-guys team.
As the first girl to ever pitch a complete game shutout in Little League World Series history, Mo'ne became an instant sports icon.
Crazy that no matter what age you are, that you can inspire people.
And that she does. Welcome to the Shot Clock, Mo'ne Davis, Philly's own. Yay!
Thank you.
Mo'ne, I literally have watched you grown up. And I've been to birthday parties. I'm always so impressed by how you carry yourself as a person and who you are at such a young age. You know, at 13 years old, you get thrown into that national spotlight. You know, you have interviews, fans, you have a schedule, you know, you have photo shoots, you have movies, these sneakers. I mean, everything, things that normal 13-year-olds don't deal with. You know, what did you have to learn on the fly?
I had to learn, just staying focused, making sure I got done what I need to get done, school and trying to balance school and then going all over the place doing media. So balancing that, like time management, really, just staying level headed. There were a lot of people who, didn't like what I did. A lot of people saying I'm not good and, trying to not listen to that at such a young age. A lot of people can't do that and it gets wrapped up in their heads, but really just trying to stay focused and, doing what I got to do so I can, set myself up for the future.
Mo'ne, you have been a star in the eyes of many for a long time now, for some years to come, and we have had the opportunity to watch you grow and watch you go from a young lady to a young adult. 2020 was a different year for everyone. What has COVID been like for you as far as still training, still being able to get with your teammates? How has it impacted your daily routine as far as your sports life?
So growing up, I played sports year round. So I played basketball, baseball, and soccer. Never really had a break. And then once I got to college, it was just strictly softball. So I did softball almost every day. And so once COVID hit, it was like kind of a break for me. Just being able to just take time off from not doing sports. So at first I just relaxed and just, make sure I was doing all right mentally, physically, emotionally, just making sure I was all good. And then, once I, figured out a little schedule that worked around my school schedule, I started, working out again, just making sure that I stayed ready, no rush. So I didn't know when we were going to go back to school. So if we were going to go back in 3 weeks, I was going to be ready. So I just made sure I just kept doing what I did at school and just kept it going over here and just making sure that I stayed ready.
I was surprised that you said some people were criticizing you because I felt like what you did was such a monumental time in sports. You really defined, like you changed the definition of what throw like a girl is. I mean, it used to be a bad thing. It used to be like, oh, you throw like a girl, and then Mo'ne Davis comes out and it's like, wow, now little boys want to throw like a girl. In my opinion, you literally changed sports in a way, But I'm so disheartened to hear that people were actually mean to you. Who did you speak to? Like, what kind of advice? Is there someone that you spoke to that helped you get through that? How do you even deal with that at 13?
It was mostly just on social media. You know, people love to sit behind screens and just type away. But it never really bothered me. Like, I would read it, but I'm just like, oh, one of those, don't really care. I always think, like, for every one negative comment, there's 10 positive comments. So I don't really worry about it. But, like, if my teammates saw it, then they would read it and they would, you know, have my back and like, all right, don't worry about it. Like, we got you. So they would always take care of it, which I was very grateful for. But I just grown to just ignore it. And my mom would always comment to people too. And I'm like, it's no need, like, don't even do it. So I just learned to, you know, let it go. But if it went to a certain extent, you know, parents will step in, friends, family, siblings, like they would all step in and take care of it for me.
Monet, we've seen over the past, I'll say 3 years, definitely the past 2 years, that women's sports has been highlighted on levels we've never seen before. We've seen, of course, the WNBA is in a new light. We see folks starting to actually pay attention to what women are doing there. We see college basketball and women's sports also picking up, and people are paying attention to what's going on. What are your thoughts on a possible expansion of the WNBA and the possibility of Philly getting a WNBA team?
I love it. I love just watching women's sports. Soccer, no matter what it is. I even watched hockey when they were in the Olympics. So anything with women's sports, I'm 100% down with watching. And if Philly could get a team, I'll definitely go to as many games as I can because I'm also a huge basketball fan. So if they could get a team, I'm down for it. I always tell my stepdad, like, when I get older, I'm going to get a women's soccer team in Philly. And I feel like you need that in Philly. Like, you don't see, it's hard for young girls to, you know, see a professional team, especially in person. So that'd be great for, you know, younger kids in the city to be able to, you know, see these women out there playing and, you know, inspire them to play as well. I feel like a lot of young girls don't get the opportunity to see, you know, women's sports because they're not broadcasted on television as much as the men. So that'll give you know, girls in the city a chance to, you know, see that they can also, you know, become a professional basketball player, professional soccer or softball player. So I think, you know, getting a team in Philly is, you know, be a huge step for, you know, the city and also young girls in the city.
Right. I know that you started playing basketball before you played baseball and softball. So obviously, you know, basketball has like a special place in your heart. Was it like a difficult choice to really be like, okay, I'm going to stop playing all these sports and just concentrate on softball?
I think, yeah, it was pretty difficult just because, you know, I've said it so many times that I wanted to be a professional basketball player that people were expecting me to do that. So it was kind of difficult. I felt like at the time I didn't want to tell anybody, especially, you know, parents and coaches, because I felt like I was letting them down because we spent so much time on the road and traveling to different basketball tournaments and paying so much money to go to these tournaments that I felt like it was just a waste of money. And like, I just felt like I was letting them down. But, you know, once I told my brother first and he was like, just tell them, like, they won't care. They'll just be like, all right, like, if that's what you want to do, it's fine. So I then told my stepdad because I knew he would be, you know, a lot easier. He's a lot calmer than my mom is. And I was letting him, you know, tell my mom. But it was a little difficult. Once I played like my last basketball game in high school, I was, you know, just thinking like, wow, that's it. Like, I'm done playing basketball. But I still play for fun now, and I feel like that's what I really want to do for basketball, just play it for fun, because once you get to college, it's a grind. You're working nonstop, and if you don't enjoy it, you're going to be miserable for the 4 years. So I wanted to do something that I was going to enjoy, that, you know, I had so much room to improve. I'm still learning the game of softball as I go. So I felt like I was letting people down, but I wasn't. But it was definitely hard to, you know, be able to just stop playing basketball and just focus on softball.
Right.
What things have you been able to do so far this year as we see slowly some protocols and things are being lifted? What type of training or what have you been able to do to kind of stay sharp, stay in shape, and be ready when things really get back to rolling?
Yeah, so before New Year's, like November, December, I would go down to the rec center that I, grew up playing at, and I would just, lift weights, hit, take some ground balls, just like routine stuff. And then it all kind of stopped because cases started picking up, so they shut down the rec centers. And I spent some time with some friends. We made sure we got COVID tests, make sure everyone was negative because we haven't seen each other in so long. So we, got a little Airbnb in the Poconos and just hung out for a few days. And then now I started coaching down at the rec center that I play at. Started helping my old coach out. He's starting this, girls program for young girls. Yeah, so I'm down there helping them out like 3 days a week, which is pretty cool. I feel like I want to do some coaching, in the near future. And I'm just, if I'm not coaching, I'm down there hitting, running, doing whatever I got to do to make sure that I'm staying ready. I feel like we're going to go back in the fall, which would be nice. So, just getting back into, softball shape, getting back into shape where I'm able to, run distance and without getting tired, making sure all my, footwork's doing well, my swing's doing well, throwing is all right. So just little things like that to make sure that I'm ready as soon as I go back.
Monet, I have to think, with everything that you accomplished at 13, that's kind of a lot of pressure, right? And I think you handle it well. But I can't even imagine having that happen to you so early on in your career. So women that we've talked to, it's taken them decades and years, to really become great, become the icons that they are, right? And for you, it happened at 13. So it's I mean, moving forward, do you put that pressure on you? Like, do you say, oh my God, what am I going to do moving forward? Do you try to outline your life or think about your future? Do you hold yourself to that high bar where you feel like you have to continue to make that impact?
I feel like I don't put pressure on myself. I feel like the pressure usually comes from other people. And their expectations. So if you don't listen to their expectations and just do what you got to do, you don't feel pressure. So I just do what I want to do. And I don't really care about how other people feel because it's my life. They're not living my life. So whatever I want to do, I'm fine with that. But I do set a bar high for myself and, reach for it because I know what I'm capable of and I know that I can, reach those goals. But I usually just stay focused and do what I got to do, staying in school, paying attention in classes, little things like when we get guest speakers to come in, listening to them, taking notes down about what they say and about, their journey to get to where they are. So I try not to, put pressure on myself because I feel like that just comes from other people. So making sure that I'm happy with what I'm doing is what's important to me. And then the happiness for others will come along when they see that you're happy. They'll be happy for you because you're doing what you want to do. And, especially like my close family and friends, like all they want to do is to see me, happy and see me, reach my goals. So if I do that, that'll just make them happy. So I don't, feel pressure from other people.
Yeah. What are your long-term goals? Like, what do you want to grow up to be? How they say, even though you're like an adult,
Yeah.
Like you've been an adult your whole life.
Yeah. I feel like some goals, I want to do some coaching. I want to do some, sports broadcasting. I don't know. I mean, I'm just keeping them open really, but those are some things that, have been in my mind. I'm the type of person that whatever I feel like doing, I'm just going to go out there and do it no matter what. So, I mean, I'm just open to anything really. If I do want to be around sports, I know that. But if I'm feeling like I want to try a new sport out, I'm going to go try it. So I want to do everything really. I don't want to limit myself to anything.
What advice would you give to young women and young men, but just young athletes in general, as they're building their path and beginning their journey in sports?
I would just say have fun, especially if you're younger now. Just have fun and do as many sports as you can. I feel like you can't limit yourself to a certain sport because you'll get burnt out from that sport. And I know from experience, like I've seen my friends who've done sports, like one sport their entire life, and once they hit, high school to college, that's when they get, burnt out from it and they don't want to do it anymore. And, it's kind of like they go do something with their parents and they're in a disagreement. So I try not to, tell people do as many sports as you can, because you can never get burnt out when you're doing a different sport at a different time of year. And you make so many more memories with your teammates and your friends. But just go out there, have fun, work hard, and don't just, practice. Don't try to make yourself better at practice. Like that work comes from outside of practice. So doing things on your own and, researching the games that you're playing, like know the game, gain IQ knowledge, just watching the games and study certain players, just working hard, really, outworking yourself each day and going out there and having fun.
Thank you so much for joining us, Monet.
Of course.
I'm such a fan of you, and I say that to her. I just, when you literally watch someone grow up, and you have like a special place in my heart. So
thank you.
Anytime you need anything, you can always call me, Monet, and I'll do whatever I can to put you, in your spot. Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. You guys had some special guests on, so for you to have me it's amazing for me. Thank you.
Well, you are just like they are, Monet.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
Monet Davis here on the Shot Clock. Thank you for joining us. Here's a word from one of our sponsors.
Stop overpaying for wireless. Switch to Boost Mobile and watch your bill drop. Plans starting at $10 a month that match your data needs. Think your phone company can get down like that? Get started for as low as $10 a month. All on America's largest 5G network for less. Boost Mobile.
Welcome back to the Shot Clock. I'm Mina SayWhat, Terrell Thomas, senior sports and entertainment editor from These Urban Times, joining us. I love that girl. Like every time I talk to her, I think I went to like her 16th birthday party or something like that. You don't make that. That's natural. Like
she's a very dope young lady.
She really is. I love that girl. So, I was very honored to have her round out our Women's History Month celebration. We spoke to some amazing women and with very busy schedules. Yeah. So I was very honored that we can get that done. We're in overtime, but before we wrap up, let's get into, listen, we've been in overtime the whole month. I have not stayed, but it's like, how could you stay on time when you're talking to all these incredible, amazing women? Let's get into our plays for this week. All right. Last week we did well, but we struggled a little bit in some of the games, specifically the games with the Clippers, and we'll see what happens. I'm hoping Joel comes back at some point. I mean, I've been counting down, and I'm like, okay, we're going into the third week. What's going on here? So maybe he'll join us next, for next week's games, or maybe by Sunday or Saturday. Who knows? They haven't said anything about that. They have said that he is resuming like just some core activity. Mm-hmm. So we'll see there. What are you thinking from these games that we have up this week, T?
I'm gonna say 3-1. I think the only game that I could possibly see the Sixers losing is against the Nuggets. That game against the Nuggets, depending on Joel's availability. But those other three teams, the Cavs, Timberwolves, and Grizzlies, are kind of struggling, teams that are still kind of finding their way. I think Embiid or no Embiid, the Sixers should be able to get it done and go 3-0. 3-1 in those 4 games.
All right. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you to our producer, Amir, JR, who's been helping us with the social media, Sean, Karan, everyone joining us, on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, in the chat. So we're going to go back to our regular scheduled program next week. But thank you to all the women who joined us this month, celebrating Women's History Month. I really appreciate all of them. So thank you for watching. We'll talk to you next Monday at 12 o'clock. I'm Mina SayWhat. It's the Shot Clock.
Yeah. Thanks for watching The Shot Clock. I'm your host, Mina SayWhat, and you got something you want to talk about next week? You can always hit me up on social media at Mina SayWhat. And make sure you join us 12 o'clock next Monday on R&B Philly's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. We'll see you then.